Sleep. It's a necessary evil. It's just something we do. You can sleep when you're dead. These are all opinions that I used to hold when it came to sleep. You see, my history with sleep is full of ignorance and self-sabotaging behavior. When I was younger, I used to think that freedom was being able to stay up as late as you wanted, doing whatever you wanted. And that people who went to bed early were boring or lame and they just didn't know how to have fun. But over the years, I've learned that that type of freedom actually just makes me a slave to my bed. We live in a society that glorifies lack of sleep. You always hear people bragging about how much they're able to accomplish on so little sleep, and they wouldn't claim they're bragging. They do it in a way that sounds more like they're complaining, but it's really trying to show how competent you are and able to accomplish so much with so little. I remember when I was in college bragging about being able to get like a B on a final that I had stayed up all night studying for and took on like an hour or two of sleep. So I've been studying a lot lately about the brain and how it works, specifically regarding sleep. And I've come to realize how much I've been sabotaging myself and just making it so much harder for me to achieve certain goals because of my lack of good sleep habits and sleep hygiene. It's flashback time. So this is a picture of me when I was a freshman in college. This picture was actually taken on a trip that me and a few of my friends took. It was to New York, first time I'd ever been, and as you can see, I've been in love with the city ever since. But just take a look at him. I mean, obviously he's got more acne, and he was ashamed enough of his chest hair that he wore a crew neck shirt underneath a V-neck sweater, which I would come to later realize the error in that. But otherwise, he was pretty happy. Because that guy versus me now was 50 pounds lighter. He didn't struggle nearly as much to get out of bed in the morning. And he had a much better ability to be able to focus. So I want to be clear, I'm not body shaming myself here. I'm not upset that I look bigger. I'm upset that I don't feel nearly as good as I used to. I'm upset that I have to fight to get out of bed a lot harder than I used to, and that it's just tougher for me to kind of focus on difficult tasks for a long period of time. And it took me years to realize that sleep deprivation had a lot to do with that. Because it was when I was doing this research about how the brain is affected by sleep or lack of, that I learned that sleep deprivation and weight gain go hand in hand. Kind of a chicken and the egg, like one can set the other off and they just kind of keep feeding each other into this vicious cycle of exhaustion and overeating. Because when I realized the sleep deprivation that I went through in college and the weight gain that I had during college and how they paralleled, sleep going down, weight going up, my reaction was just like, what? Yeah, like I can't believe it took me this long to figure it out. Because I would complain about all these different symptoms at the same time, but I didn't realize that they were kind of interconnected. So let me walk you through what my mornings are like even now. So even though I've been complaining about how hard it is for me to get out of bed, if I'm going to the gym, I can actually get up pretty early. And so every day I set the alarm early enough for me to go to the gym. But then one of two things happens. I get up out of bed, I go grab my phone, turn off the alarm, and if I'm actually pushing through to go to the gym, I'll immediately just walk out into the kitchen, get some water to kind of wake me up, and then I'll get ready and go to the gym. But it's the other times. The times when I hear the faint whisper of my bed calling me back to its warm embrace. Come back to my warm embrace. And as ashamed as I am to admit it, there are many times where I will open my phone, set another alarm for about 45 minutes before I have to be to work, and then I just go back to bed. But it's a total toss up. I can tell myself when I go to bed that I'm gonna get up that time, But when I wake up, it's a completely different person because I'm in this fog of sleep deprivation. And sleep deprivation Jameson does not care about awake Jameson's goals. And I hate that. I hate it being a gamble of me not knowing if I'm going to really get up in time to go to the gym. And I'm sure my gym partner would appreciate it if I got over that as well. So how messed up is that? Because if it's a time when I don't go to the gym, I seriously wake up just in time to take a shower, wolf something down, and go to work and probably show up a few minutes late. But then I'll come home from work, and unless I have something specific scheduled for the night, there's a high risk, again, if I'm feeling very tired and just exhausted from this vicious cycle, there's a high chance that I'll stay up way later than I should. And I mean, it'd be one thing if I was doing something productive, but the odds are I'm not. So that's where all of this research that I've been doing comes in to help me understand what I need to do to break this cycle. So I mean, there's so much I could talk about here with like circadian rhythms and REM and all this other stuff, but I just don't have time to get into that. But I will talk about how a sleep cycle, which has several phases, but a sleep cycle that your night is comprised of several of them, takes on average 90 minutes. So it's weird to me that 8 hours of sleep has long been the recommended time for everyone because that does not equal any set of 90 minutes. So 7.5 hours or 9 hours are where those 90 minutes kind of come to complete cycles. Because if you are waking up in the middle of a cycle, that's the kind of, like, you know when you take a nap for like 40 minutes and when you wake up you're just dead? You feel worse than when you went to sleep. It's because you woke up in the middle of a cycle. You're like in the deepest part of sleep when you wake up. So, but even this 90-minute thing isn't perfect because everyone's a little bit different. Finding out how much sleep you need is almost like finding out how many calories you should be eating in a day. There's no way you can just take what somebody says as the recommended average because your body is so different from everybody else's. You need to figure out what you need. And so your cycle could be short or longer than 90 minutes by a little bit, give or take. And you probably don't know what that's at right now. So a way you can figure it out is you need to find a set of days where you don't have to set an alarm. And you track how much you sleep. And then you figure that out based on like how many cycles that would roughly be and figure out how, like if you're a few minutes short or a few minutes long, but you can figure out by how much sleep you got when you naturally woke up compared to the 90-minute cycles, how long your personal cycles are. So for me, I have figured out that mine are just a few minutes short of 90 because I've averaged like 7 hours and 10 minutes to 7 hours and 15 minutes when I've done this no alarm stuff after I've let my body catch up. And so now I know I need just over 7 hours of sleep if I want to really crush it and not deal with the sleep deprivation all the time. So that means that I was cheating myself of over an hour's worth of sleep during my college years because I averaged maybe 6 hours. So I can't really act surprised when through that decade I've noticed my weight gain go up, my exhaustion levels increase, my ability to really focus and assert my attention to something decrease. They all just parallel with me having terrible sleeping habits. So to conclude, like, I get that a lot of you are in situations where that's not going to be easy to A, figure out your full sleep cycle, or B, actually get that every night. Especially for the people that I know that are raising kids now, which at this point is pretty much everybody else in my life. I do lead a charmed life in that aspect that I have my own place, no distractions. It's only my fault if I don't go to bed and don't get up when I should. But as has kind of been the theme with a lot of my videos, is knowledge is power. It's not that you have to do everything perfectly. It's just at least knowing the situation and understanding yourself allows you to do the best you can and make what changes you can. So, as a challenge at the end of this video, I admonish you to take a look at your sleep habits and figure out what you're doing wrong and what you can do to change it. Just don't take sleep for granted. And if you don't, I can promise that you will stay blessed. And speaking of sleeping, it's about that time for me. So we'll catch you next week, guys. Have a good one.